Hello, everyone. My name is Brent. I am actually the weather guy here. They call me Weatherman. You've actually are on Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. I'm actually broadcasting from Nanaimo today. So I'd actually figured I would just give a different kind of introduction everybody's used to hearing, kind of throw it off. And so you look for me on Twitter, Weatherman, and look for all the upcoming episodes. So today I actually have Minnie St. joining me on the show. It's such a great pleasure having Minnie coming on. I understand Minnie has been following Neil for quite some time, Neil.
Well, we've been following each other for a while, but it's just kind of like you and I. Like when you and I hooked up, we had been following each other for a while, but it wasn't until you actually just reached out and called me and says, I want to start a podcast. And so yeah, Minnie just reached out to me and she said, I think I want to be on the podcast. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things like I just stumbled across her Twitter feed like a while ago, and I just follow people that I find interesting, and I always thought that Minnie's interesting, so I thought, well, I'll follow her. But you've never reached out until today, so we're doing a podcast today.
This is fabulous. Having Minnie coming on and talking about. Well, I'll leave it up to Minnie what she's going to be talking about. Go ahead, Minnie. Thank you very much for coming on today.
Okay, so I'm Minnie. I've been on disability ODSP since 2010. Before that, it was OW, the hot potato, I like to call it, because either you're on OW, you're off OW. While I was diagnosed with bipolar, post-traumatic stress disorder, major depression first, and then 2013 I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and we now know I also still have scoliosis. I mean, not like scoliosis goes away, you're kind of born with a curved spine. It's just right. The pain I was having originally, where they found multiple sclerosis, MS, I thought was scoliosis, a pinched nerve. And then that went quiet, and then MS took over, and now that the MS is quiet again, the scoliosis showed up. So
it's kind of back and forth.
Yeah, where I need to make sure I have a private health insurance plan that covers critical illness, and I did find one. Like before we came on, I was talking to one of the agents that was searching for private insurance for me for critical illness. And I'm not covered for the MS, I'm not covered for the bipolar, but I could be covered for future new diagnosis in the future, which is, it emphasizes why you need to have savings. You need to be working. Like ODSP is designed in a way that I'm getting the maximum. So I'm getting $556 for shelter. Then $706 is basic needs, but my rent is $937.03 market rent that I've been living here for 16 years. That's never going to be that amount of money if I move out. Like, I'm in a bubble as long as I pay the rent on time. Right. Or the building doesn't get bought out by a bigger company or like I'm just fighting other people that want to make more money. That's
well,
the way
even to go back to your point about health. I mean, for me, health is an important thing too. Like I was born with cerebral palsy, and for me, getting regular massage is a huge thing. But of course, like I can't afford regular. I mean, I would love to be able to do it like every week or every couple of weeks. But I can't really do that. but it would be nice if governments would realize, hey, you know what? If we gave people enough, they could actually look after their health more and invest in their health. And it's an important piece of the puzzle, right? And
It is.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
it gets tossed aside because you can't afford to do it regularly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
if you inject money into the system to help the person and give them money where yeah, otherwise, yeah, you're right, Neil. It actually depletes your health. And when you don't have health, what do you have? You have nothing. You're in despair. Now you're basically at the heels of the government again and begging for more, but they're going to keep throwing breadcrumbs at you. Where if the government actually takes away that limit potential of what you're allowed to make and just leaves it wide open. Now you could be an entrepreneur. You could work for yourself. You could actually, if you had employment, you could actually make as much as you want from an employer, and you could be now self-sufficient in exactly what you're mentioning, Minnie. Like,
yeah, plus how we need our like healthcare professionals to fill out the disability forms. And if
mhm,
I have a good one, like, but she'll recommend something and right away I'm like, I don't know, is disability going to cover it?
yeah,
Where she'll run it anyway. And then the pharmacy, I don't know how much it costs until the pharmacist calls me. Until they have to order it, then the system tells them how much it costs. Like I just got eye
mhm.
drops. Eye drops are $286.66.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the doctor's trying to find the best prescription. She just run it anyways, see what they cover. And then because it's brand new, but not necessarily something I need on a frequent basis,
mhm,
it's like you're always making choice. You're drawing straws for your prescription coverage, or like me seeing the chiropractor or me getting acupuncture. It's like I found affordable, less than $100 services, but if you don't have the $100, it's the most stressful thing. And then your doctors act like, oh, you're not following my recommendations. Like, no, because the government gave me this much money and
Yeah.
mhm.
you're
You're,
recommending something that's not covered. And then,
Yeah.
oh
you're
yeah,
having to make
check my blood work. They say that, oh, I'm deficient in vitamin D or I'm deficient in iron or deficient. Like
yeah,
doctors know your body is deteriorating faster because our disability is not financially covered.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
And
There's
having to
a
make
like a
terrible.
government track record of every doctor that's doing their job properly, because some doctors don't even believe people are disabled.
Well,
Mhm,
let's
And
talk.
for that, it's you're constantly choosing. You're choosing follow the doctor recommendation
Yeah.
or deteriorate my health to the point where they say they can't help you anymore and you're in a hospital getting infusions. I'm trying not to do that. That's me trying not to. I like
mhm.
I did all the work to treat my depression, to treat my bipolar, and get to a stable place, and then get diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and then try to get that stable. And then my doctors are like, "Oh, you're relatively healthy," even though they run all these tests every year and run the X-rays and MRIs every year. They're really encouraging me to go live my life, and I'm like, I can't really do that if I'm on ODSP.
Yeah.
So,
And that was going to be the theme of today's show, was how to escape oppression
Mhm.
of ODSP or being on disabled benefits. So you were going to talk about some strategies that you employ or that you use to escape that oppression. So,
yeah,
Yes.
the first one was reading the policy for yourself. Not have somebody else quote you sections of the policy that they think is there. Like someone try to suggest that I get more from my special diet allowance. So even though special diet says it could be $250, it's really specific based on how the special diet form is filled out.
Right.
So my maximum from that is $129 since 2010. It's not increasing with inflation.
Mhm.
So great, I get $129. That's like maybe 2 weeks of groceries if I stretch it and already have things in my freezer.
Mhm.
And then, of course, my doctor's making sure that I'm increasing the things in my blood work that's deficient, which is fish oils and vitamin D. what else does she have me on? Right, I'm getting B12 shots right now. So fish oils, vitamin D. Right now, the prescription is $16.85 for 3 months right now. And then fish oils, I should be taking three a day of the fish oils, the three, six, and nine. I'm
Hmm.
taking, I increase it to two a day, but that bottle, I'm going to Shoppers Drug Mart on Senior's Day to get my supplements at a lesser
Wow.
cost.
Yeah.
So you're having to cut back, in order to, because the doctor has ordered, do you get your numbers up to a certain level, but you're still having to cut back because the government is not giving enough on the supplement in order to, because the doctor's saying you need this, but they're still not keeping up their end of the bargain.
Yeah, and because of the category of the
Wow.
special diet allowance, it doesn't
Yeah.
cover supplements unless let's say I was anorexic or I lost a lot of weight for my MS. So like, and the categories that's there, my doctor is going to honestly fill out the form, which
Hmm.
yes, I'm happy for that for her being an honest doctor, but I don't get access to things on the form.
Yeah.
Right. It's
So
not always the
it
same.
it has to come from work. It has to come from a credit card. It may come from my family sometimes, but grandma, dad, mom, boyfriend, between
They're not
all of
always
them,
able to do that. Yeah.
it's not, they do, but it's like, it's grandma money. It's like $50 here, $100 there. It's
Right.
basically what Ford gave everybody during the pandemic, the
Yeah.
$100.
There's no guarantee. Like there's no, like, I mean, it's nice that they give it, but it's like a one-time shot deal. Here you go, and have fun. See what you can buy with it.
Yeah,
Eh,
it's Christmas, birthday, and oh, here's something nice. That's the categories of getting gifts from my family and my boyfriend. That's pretty much it. So I had to read the policy and then with me before I got on disability, I was already working self-employed. So I have an online business in the adult webcam business, and that's where my money came from majority of the time. It's only
Mhm.
because I was spiraling into a psychotic break that my doctor's like, you have depression, and then it got worse, and then it's like, oh, you have bipolar, and then it got more worse with the PTSD. And
Mhm.
between you're like 18 to 20, you're healthy, you have a lot of time,
Mhm.
hit with a diagnosis of a disability, and then I'm on social assistance, and then I'm on ODSP. I didn't have a lot of time of find a job, build a career, get my health insurance from an employer. And my family never bought me a private health insurance. Like the research I'm doing now of finding private health insurance is something my family should have bought the minute their insurance kicked me off of their plan when I turned 26.
Right.
And if they kept that insurance in place, that would help with, oh, I'm giving you some pocket money to help you with things. So
Right.
if they had my health insurance in my 20s, it could have been like $50 a month or less. Now that I'm almost in my 40s, it's going to be anywhere above 150 a month to almost $300 a month for health insurance.
Oh.
Yeah. And this is me trying to find the maximum coverage I could get with the maximum coverages that are related to my housing situation of being a single person, no children, not married. It gets more expensive. Like
Mhm.
and my $1,600 a month from ODSP, it covers the basics. It covers my rent, it covers the hydro, it covers some groceries, it covers my cell phone, my internet, and then there's like a hundred and something dollars left over, which I usually put on my credit card.
Right. And
And that's it.
things never get any cheaper, right? As and cost of living keeps going higher and higher, and these rates are never tied to inflation, and just ridiculous. The cost of living, cost of rent. I mean, all your basic necessities. I mean, your hydro bill. I mean, cable. If you have cable, cell phone bills. I mean, you name it. Medications, and like you mentioned, a lot of these things. I mean, they're not covered fully. Um, I know out in British Columbia, they're not the fee schedule. It's all based on policy too, right? The fee schedules are never kept up with the actual practitioner. They have their fee schedule. The ministry has their fee schedule, and they don't coincide. So it's like you're going to get part of it, but you're not going to get all of it.
Yeah. Like right now I'm due for my eye exam and the clinic kept sending notice about it might be covered by OHIP, but it's not. So my
Mm.
available credit on my credit card is going to cover that gap next week. So it's you constantly have to keep available credit available, and then you have to work. I've tried to be on ODSP and not work for maybe the first 2 years because of my psychosis and getting treatment with my doctors and things like that. But it's
Mhm.
because I was able to a little bit based on how much I was getting from ODSP in
Right.
2010. Not, you can't do that today.
No.
There's no wiggle room in ODSP of get your ODSP, get stable in your mental health, depending on what your disability is, and then see about adding employment or adding self-employment or adding volunteer. If you're not stable, no employer is going to hire you.
Hmm.
I like, I have a person in my building that's on ODSP and he's in a wheelchair. He does not shower. I do not go in the elevator with him. I know he does not shower. And
Oh,
it's sad. Like our
it
building
is.
has a laundry room. The building does what they can with people following the instructions. So like my building came in to do pest control. If you don't leave the unit for pest control, your place is not treated for pest control, and then they charge you $55 because you didn't get your place ready for pest control.
Wow.
It's a basic thing that the building asks for. It's not like they don't do it. They're not a slumlord. They do all the requests. But if you don't make your unit available so they can access the thing in your apartment that needs to be repaired or replaced or, you know, taken care of, th you can't complain. But this particular person decided to go to the news about his unit when honestly, he's not doing his part of the deal of keeping the tenant agreement in alignment. Like you have to follow your part of the agreement, then the other people follow their part of the agreement. This is why I ended up reading the policy from ODSP. Yes, my rights and responsibilities is to follow everything, report my income, report life changes, but I want to make sure that I read the policy for
Hmm.
everything else that I'm responsible for and the caseworkers are responsible for. That's why every time when I change caseworkers, I give them a list of things to do that I follow in the policy.
Hmm. Keep them busy, right? I mean, make them work for their money. Yeah, I mean, and the fact is that policy should be actually have been kept up and modernized anyway. And it's the recipients that are actually making sure that the policymakers, which are the ministers, are actually supposed to be doing their job, right? And they're not. Some of them are. It just seems like some of them are not listening to what the recipients are saying, what their needs are, and what they're saying is that the system needs to be changed, needs to be modernized. They need to be listening to what people's needs are, their medical benefits, what is supposed to be on there. I mean, stuff should be covered, and when you don't give them what their medical benefits should be, if they're supposed to be a certain amount, and it should be covered under their under I think in Ontario it's called OHIP, right?
Yeah.
And so when something's not covered, it's like surprise. You get to the pharmacist and they put your prescription and oh, it's not covered. Meanwhile, the doctor's saying, hey, like this is what I prescribed because this is what I feel that my patient needs, and it's not covered. Well, like you mentioned, now you're having to, it's like rob Peter to pay Paul, shall we say? You know what I mean? Like taking money from food that or from a bill to get medication, but you can only have so much medication. And that's it's really it's. I'm sorry that you're having to go through that, and so many other people that are having to make these difficult choices in life because it's just society. I mean, it's just I don't know like what's happening, but nobody should really have to be suffering in a wealthy.
Before we launched the show, you were talking briefly about autonomy too, and
Yes.
that's a big piece of the puzzle as well.
Well,
Minnie, you were talking about you don't want to have to depend on grandma money and things like that, and but it's not just that. It's the government forces you to be dependent on a spouse too,
Yeah.
and that's not right at all either.
So with
well,
that, so the
yeah.
spouse section of the policy, I got
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
my boyfriend to read it.
Okay.
And he's like, well, this is just bullshit.
It
Like,
is bullshit.
Hmm.
so,
Yeah.
and I've been with him for 9 years. So it's our whole relationship. I'm on ODSP. I put myself together to date and be available, and I found somebody. And yeah, half our discussions, like people ask, you've been with him for 9 years, how come you're not married? I'm like, well, I have a government watching everything everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I merge, either we merge and move in together or we merge and get married, he's expected to care of me. Right now, he's taking care of his aging mother. That's his full-time job,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
other than producing an income and then trying to enjoy his life as a grown man. So I showed, like I said, yeah, I read the policy. Then there's certain sections in there about we have to fill out a questionnaire. We have to prove that our status is, it's just a weird way they want us to prove we're together, and then instantly his assets drop down to $50,000. Like he's
Hmm.
been working his 50 years of his life as an adult working,
Right.
and then you're telling me if we become a couple, our assets instantly drop down to $50,000 because I'm disabled, he's not, and then any income he makes over $200 is cut back
Yep.
on my
Yep.
check.
Yeah.
Gets yeah, clawed right off. They just take it away, and it's like now you see it, now you don't. It's like a pink unicorn, right? It's like poof.
Yeah.
He works real like for people that like they don't have a disability and they're working really hard to take care of themselves, take care of their family, pay off their debts, buy a house, buy the car. He has three vehicles. He has a truck, two motorcycles. The two motorcycles will screw up my asset limit
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
just by reading the policy of what assets I can have, what assets I can't. So if he has a house and then he had a house before in California. ODSP makes you sell your house or make reasonable effort to sell your second property within 6 months, and then you have to show them proof you're doing that. I
You
don't
know,
like there's too many things in the policy where I'm like, stop watching me like I'm 5 years old.
yeah, and that's how the government loves to treat disabled people, right? They love to treat them as like they're a little child. You're going to do this. You need to have permission to leave the province. Can I pretty please leave the province for 30 days?
Mm-hmm.
No, and I used to be told, Brent, you need to go and go to use the washroom. Go. Don't need to ask permission. But now it's like you don't need to use the leave the province. Well, no, you need to go. Just go. And the government's actually used to have meetings and saying, well, should we change this policy? Should we change it where you need to have permission?
Yes.
And stakeholders that basically say, oh, well, we're only hearing from so many people, and they're saying that, yeah, there's just not enough people asking for it. Really? Like, is it again? Are they lifting about lived experience?
Well,
Are they listening
well,
to
and yet you have the example of Michelle Stilwell here, the ex-minister in BC,
right?
who listened to 5 or 6 people, and
Yeah.
based on the 5 or 6 people that she listened to, she canceled out the whole annual PWD bus pass.
That's right.
So
Magically, it just went away because
yeah,
5 or 6 people said out of the whole system, let's change it.
yeah.
Oh, that's the whole thing of 1 out of 5 dentists said I recommend this. Is that what we're doing?
She
Yeah,
literally
same thing, yeah.
she literally went to 5 people in the whole
Yeah.
province. There was 5 people that complained and said, well, because these 5 people complained, we're just gonna kill the whole bus pass. It was an annual bus pass of $45 for the year, and they killed it off because
ODSP has 500,000 caseloads
yeah.
of households that receive ODSP.
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
1 out of 499,999,000. Like I don't like
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like I'm one
Yeah.
out of 500,000.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
there's my uncle, like I grew up knowing my uncle's on ODSP. Then I have a cousin who's severely disabled where my aunt her entire life has to take care of him because the way his autism is, he can't function by himself. So
Hmm.
I grew up watching my uncle work, get a girlfriend. The girlfriend and him were on disability. Then they broke up. Then he got
Hmm.
into housing. So when my uncle got housing, my grandmother, because it's her brother, automatically assumed that I would get housing. But my uncle's older than me, been on
Right.
disability longer than me, so he had more time to wait on the 20-year waiting list
Mhm.
of
Whoa,
housing.
20 years. Holy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I got this apartment, housing called me to look at 3 apartments. I had the keys to this apartment in my hand when they called me.
Yeah, that's amazing. That I'm glad that you got that apartment when you did, because I mean, a 20-year waiting list. I mean, that's pretty much what is in BC. They say the critics say 10 years. Well, yeah,
I
I'd say
think it's
pretty
longer.
close
Yeah.
to
The
20
only
years.
reason I got this apartment because of me building my credit. So not only
Yeah.
like I work in an industry that people don't recognize as work, And the money I used from that self-employment, that small business, I made sure to build my credit. And then when I applied for this apartment, they didn't really look at my job. They didn't look at my income. They look at my credit. They look at my credit and can I get first and last? My parents gave me first and last. My credit got me in my apartment.
Wow.
Like that is so if you're on ODSP and you max out your credit cards, your bill collector's calling you, you don't have a shot in anything to get a job that looks at your credit or an apartment that looks at your credit or a car that looks at your credit. Like the
Hmm.
basic assets that we're allowed to have on ODSP, if your credit is so bad that they're not going to approve you, you don't really have the stepping stones to rebuild your financial life so that you have the things you need. Like the
Right.
way that I'm able to use my credit card now to buy my private health insurance, because I kept the card available. But to keep the card available, you have to pay down the credit card debt. You have to pay down the balance. You have to reduce your bill. I have cell phone, internet. I have like 5 bills I worry about every month. I don't have 15 bills. I don't have overdraft. I like it, two
Yeah.
credit cards. That's it. Like, and then Hydro, ODSP pays the hydro automatically every single month. Then I'm in the energy saving program for Ontario Hydro, and my rent is paid direct from ODSP, but I've been here since 2007. So the 1% rental increase that happens when Doug Ford makes their decision, that's what I'm under. Like my housing cost is only low because the timing I got my things, same with my uncle when he got his housing for rent geared income, it's
Hmm.
because he's been in the system longer than me. So if you're on the system now, starting, you need an income outside of ODSP to survive. It's not you can't do it. Like even
Yeah.
if you're really great at being a panhandler, they can eventually see that as income.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then you need to be smart enough to organize that as self-employment and
Yeah.
then fill out your profit and loss statements correctly so
Hmm.
that the caseworker deducts your income correctly. But a lot of people that become self-employed on ODSP, they don't take the time to actually get somebody, teach them proper financial statements that they need to run their business. You could get it like so ODSP has employment supports, but for employment supports for my city, there's only one that handles self-employment properly. The other agency that offered self-employment, I did not like them because I already have experience in my business and I wasn't going to work with them. But because they're part of the employment support private agencies that Doug Ford is trying to put money into, they have a
Hmm.
lot of money of having clients. So they kept calling me for 3 months, asking me why I didn't want to be in their program. And I told them, your competition is better than you.
Yeah. That's funny.
So just that, like finding the employment supports, knowing what you want from employment supports. ODSP didn't let me become like report my income as self-employment on my own. They had to have me prove to them I'm capable and confident of running my business that I was doing for 20 years.
Hmm.
Where so like I've been running my business since 2003. I got on ODSP in 2010. 2016, ODSP is like, okay, you're self-employed. We believe you. And then now I just tell the caseworker, I'm self-employed. The income has already been reported in my file. Have you read 5.4, self-employment in the policy directive? So, because some
Hmm.
caseworkers were like, oh, I don't really know anything about self-employment. So they would send me the policy directive, this giant booklet of the policy directive for self-employment. And I read that thing so much, I can memorize all of it.
It's amazing. You got some of these caseworkers who figure they know everything, right? All the policies. Meanwhile, the recipients, they can run circles around these caseworkers. I mean, I had an instant, Minnie, one year where there was a section B under the main section, and the worker didn't even know that it was I had injured myself. So now I was actually under WCB, but because I was injured on a job, now it became employment issue. So now you're going through employment insurance. So now there's a difference between basically employment exempt, I mean income exempt, or basically income that needs to be earned,
Yeah,
right?
because they were
So
gonna they were gonna claw that off of you.
they were going to claw it off
Yeah.
me. Mine was earned income, not unearned income. And they said, no, it's unearned. I go, I earned it. I paid into it. I said, you guys need to learn to read the policies. well, we did. I go, evidently you didn't, because I said, and I knew you were going to say that. She goes, and how is that? I'm sorry. You're actually talking to a caseworker. I go, right. And the last time I checked, my name is Brent, and I do know policy, and I read it here. My doctor actually helped me with it. My doctor printed it out. And where are you reading this? So anyway, I got her to look through it, and I said, flip your screen over. Now, oh, there it is. I go, wow, hey, isn't that amazing, right? If you actually take the work and actually go and look into it, come with this afternoon and get a check. I go, I'm sorry. I can't move right now. I've actually had chiropractic and physiotherapy, but why don't you just mail it to me? It's not that far to walk. I go, I'm sorry, I injured myself on the job. My doctor says I can't, I can't do this now right now.
Because isn't it true that when you showed that your doctor that he basically said, this is bullshit, Brent. Like your doctor actually said this is bullshit. And he said the government's wasting my time. I have no time for this. Yeah.
Yeah, he basically just said, like, this is garbage. I mean, if they want a lawsuit, he says, no problem. I can I've got top lawyers, right? And, yeah, like it was a bunch of it was like a circus game, right? And they lost, right? End of story. On that for how it ended up being, but again. Policies, they're just so outdated, but they're outdated deliberately. They're designed that
for
way.
Oppression.
So people have to keep fighting and fighting. But the politicians, they get all their bells and whistles, right? They can go right to the trough and, have whatever they want. I mean, and some people are actually, there's good politicians who legitimately, they do try. They try really hard. They get in and they have the ambition that they want to see things changed. They want to advocate really hard, and then they get to a certain part and then they realize they can't change the system because the system is now designed so that they can't change it. And it's frustrating because you see the good ones and then they drop off, right? And I don't know what has to change for that. Like something has to change so that the politicians who get in, and I know a lot of them, they work together on a lot of things, and there's a lot of cat fighting going on, just like the PWD community. But we all, same thing, like PWD community, they have to get together one way or another and somehow work together. Same as the politicians, right? It's just too much going on back and forth. And I mean, look at federal, for instance. I'm not going to list every single thing off, but we got the three top ones really, and then we go, then we got the block, right? So really, in a sense, there's four, right? Everyone says, well, who do I vote for? I mean, this one. Well, end of the day, they say, well, nothing's going to change, right? Because it's the system that has to be changed. Is it corporations that are controlling it? Our healthcare, and working independently, being self-employed. Yeah, that's what a person needs to do in order to keep up with that income, because the government's just not going to do it. They're taking care of their own self-interests, and it's a shame because it doesn't have to be that way. It really, life's too short, right? I mean, we got to enjoy life. And
yeah, and I know, Minnie, you were saying prior to the show, you were saying you had 7 strategies, and I think we've only covered a couple. So
okay, no, we covered, so because majority of my life is ODSP.
Okay.
Yeah. And then 2017, I got really focused on personal finance. So for me to actually have personal finance work for me was when I discovered Dave Ramsey. So Dave Ramsey, he's an American, but he made his name out of creating the financial baby steps and paying off debt with the debt snowball. So when I realized ODSP is never gonna take care of me long term, and then I was like, I had a payday advance loan from Easy Financial, and then I had a credit card. So, and the reason I got the loan was the intention of using it to grow my business. But then I got hit with so ODSP pays my rent automatically and the hydro automatically, and then what was left over, that was the minimum payment for Easy Financial. And because I had, my grandma, my parents sometimes giving me gifts, and then I qualify for tax credits, and then I I was working self-employment. I still kept my self-employment income coming in. I was able to at least make it to the next payment date of ODSP. So
Mhm.
like for me, if I work 20 hours a week, I'm mostly okay because my business makes me US dollars and then I convert it to Canadian and then I live off the Canadian and it's a little bit more money and I'm usually okay. So I thought my bare minimum was keep my ODSP coming in as long as possible and
Mhm.
then do for my business make 500 or like $800 and then stop. And I would. But
Right.
because depending on the month, if it was a month where you got the trillium benefit, GST, and then another benefit like every quarter,
Mhm.
that would usually last me almost 2 months. Some and then Christmas, my birthday, I get more money from my parents. So there was times where I could actually just get by long enough where I didn't really think about my finances. I didn't really look at the numbers. I didn't really
Mhm.
look at my retirement investing at the time before, like during the pandemic, I got approved for the disability tax credit. So that was a new thing I had to learn of opening my
Yeah.
registered disability savings plan, then having a financial planner who teaches me what my portfolio is doing so that I can make decisions of how I want my portfolio to grow. But before that, it was just, oh, I'm told, like, I believed I couldn't make money. I believed I couldn't save money. And then when I read the policy and realized it's a lie,
Yeah.
there's a
Right.
certain section you can have $40,000 of assets. So I looked at the $40,000 of assets of a single person, not married, no children, as my first milestone for ODSP. I know if I can have that money in my account outside of my registered disability savings plan and outside of exempt assets like a first car and buying a house, then yeah, according to disability, I'm too rich to be on disability. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, that's without the slide presentation, but
Yeah, 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 exactly. And that's some people's belief is, oh, well, they must be doing okay. That they're on ODSP, government takes care of them, and that's the belief that I think a lot of people would always have thought,
they
right?
don't act, they're not in
They
my
don't realize.
budget. Like if each household actual budget, each you
Yeah.
see everyone's spending every day. And it's not just spend for the survival stuff. You
Hmm.
have to spend for long term. Like you have to have money in investments. Like
Yeah.
the world is on fire, but my investments, according to my financial planner, are doing really well. I don't know anything about investing. I just know make it diversified and enough mixture of industries that are in the economy to have it in as long as possible so when I have to take it out, because you have to take money out of your RDSP when you're
Six,
49 or 59, I forgot what age it is, but some of the
it's six
investments,
sixty. Yeah, you take it out.
60.
yes,
Yeah.
the 60 or the 71, whatever the age limit is, I have to take that money out. Me and my financial planner will sit down and we'll figure out how much am I taking out, how much taxes way I might end up paying, because your tax on your withdrawals on the registered disability savings plan and your tax on withdrawals on the RSP. And
Yeah.
if you don't have an employer to give you the match in the retirement account, it's up to you to put your money in there. Like I'm
Yeah.
self-directed. There's no employer doing this. It's me sitting down with my budget. And then when money goes into my account, I move money into another account that
Hmm.
my financial planner will take that money out and transfer it to my investments. So you like if caseworker wants to look at my accounts, yeah, there are multiple accounts, multiple banks from the money I make from my business in US dollars, and it becomes Canadian dollars, and it goes into my self-employment conversion of US dollars to Canadian. Then it goes into my net profit, which is my take-home pay. And then from my take-home pay, it goes into my retirement, and then it goes into whatever savings I need for groceries and like it's there. They can see it. They're not gonna like going through those numbers, but for me to function and make sure that I'm financially stable. I'm escaping poverty. Yeah, I see it $1 at a time. 2017, my brain couldn't process all the things I know right now. It could because so many people told me wrong information. They really told me, "Oh, you can't save any money with $5,000." If I had $1,000 in savings at that time, that's enough to cover any mistake ODSP does on my file where they screw up and pay my rent to Toronto housing and I don't live in Toronto housing or like I need the air conditioner because my symptoms flare up because I'm too hot or by te like
Right.
anything. So I learned that 3 months of ODSP will take care of a lot for me. And that's what I'm doing. I'm putting away money from my business, the net profit from my business into savings. I made an exit ODSP savings account. I labeled it exit ODSP. Before I said FU ODSP, but I labeled it, I changed the label just in case the bank would
Oh,
question why
yeah,
I
yeah,
labeled it that way. But in my spreadsheet, it says FU ODSP, and the target for that is $40,000.
yeah,
Like
The FU stands for free unicorns.
yeah, yeah. There we are. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Unicorns.
whatever the
Love
FU
it.
is for you, that's what it is for me. But I knew
Yeah,
like when I broke down $40,000, it's $5,000 a year for what, five times eight? I forgot.
40.
But
or,
exactly, it's not that it's yes, if you don't have any money, it's a big number.
or
But
even
if
the FU. You say fed up.
Yeah.
You're fed up with it. And
Well,
yeah,
and you and I have talked before, Brent. I mean, I've been disabled my whole life. You've been disabled your whole life. Like from birth, I was disabled.
yeah, yeah. Me
And
too.
I mean, I worked for a majority of my life, like at least over 20 years.
Hmm.
And I somebody that has been born with a disability, I always thought that hey, the government's looking after people that are disabled that can't work. I
Right.
always thought, and I mean, that was a wrong assumption on my part, but I literally thought that, right?
I think
And
a lot of people had that belief, and many is a lot of people had the belief where the government at one time was going to take care of their citizens, right? And I think that was just a narrative that
and
everyone always thought.
should that be a big ask? I don't think so, but
Well, yeah,
apparently it is.
but yeah, apparently it is. It's a huge ask, but they take care of themselves, no problem, right? And they pat themselves on the back and say, "Look what we did, right? We took away a bus pass, but hey, don't worry, the computer system was dismantled. But let's blame the other government for doing it."
Mm-hmm.
Or hey, we gave ODSP, we gave you guys a 5% rate increase. Meanwhile, the cost of living, inflation has gone up. It
Right.
was at a national average at 8.1% there for a while,
Yeah.
and then it went to 7, but only a 5%. Meanwhile, Doug Ford, he got taken care of, no problem. He got a huge rate increase. His wage gets tied to inflation,
So the
cost of
thing with
living.
the thing
No,
with the increase, so the increase for me, I have an overpayment with ODSP. It was like $4,000.
oh,
And then the minimum payment they take or their payment they take back to pay down the overpayment, it was first $64.90. Now it's 71.85. Every time we
oh.
had an increase, September and then July, my overpayment amount increased as well.
Yeah.
Right. So not everybody actually benefited from that increase then, really,
I mean, I
because
got the overall increase. I got the basic shelter allowance, $556. Then I got the basic needs, 700 and something. So I am
Mhm.
getting the full $1,308. Like I'm getting that full amount. But I can see on the
Circumstance.
other end the
Yeah.
increase of the overpayment going up by like $4 every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And then November my landlord was sending me a rental increase that renews my lease for February, and then they applied for above guideline increase.
Right.
I don't know if it got approved or rejected, but my rent amount changed again. It changed from $937.03. So because I'm on ODSP's Pay Direct in their
Yeah.
policy,
Oh,
where
right. Okay.
they're paying my rent and they're paying my hydro because at the time when I got on ODSP, I was incapable of paying my bills at that time.
Uh,
I have to call them every time to say, this change, here's the documentation it changed. Can you change it? Then I wait, and
it's
then I
like a
find
service
out
provider, right? Like
yeah,
it's
then
like
I find out they did not change it. They have to call them. We're like, well, I told you about it early and you
yeah.
didn't change it. So now I wait on the phone with them while they change it. Or I
Wow.
go into the office and I watch them on their computer to change it.
Yeah.
I'm the worst if I, like for being rights and responsibility of ODSP benefit unit member, I am their supervisor because
Right. Like you got to keep following up with them to make sure they're doing
You
their
have
job.
to. You have to follow up with them. You
Yeah.
have to keep records. You have to keep, I talked to Mark on this day and we talked about this. You have to keep every documentation ready. So when you talk to their supervisor, because their
Yeah.
supervisors defend them no matter what they do, as if
Of
they
course they
can't
do.
do anything wrong. Yeah, I
God
like,
forbid.
and then I bring those documentations to legal aid if I have to bring up to legal aid or bring it to the Ombudsman of Ontario.
Then you have to hope that they don't lose documentation too. Oh, we don't have it anymore. No, I
Well,
sent it in.
That,
that happened to me.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too. Why
yeah,
don't
that. Yeah, you have to
Whoops, we
learn.
lost it. We lost your
yeah, the workers
letters.
yeah, the worker says, well, no, I need you to put the pay stub in. Well, I already gave it to you. Well, we don't have it. So you have to go back to your employer. Well, employer don't have it. They've already given you the master copy.
That you have to learn. Never give them the original.
Nope.
I now scan
I
things
found that
in
one
an
out.
external hard drive or a cloud. And then your smartphone, most iPhones can actually scan your documents, or the Microsoft Lens app does it. Or I'm going to the mom and pop internet cafe and I'm using the photocopier, the scanner, and I bring in my flash drive and I'm scanning everything. I have to specifically make flash drives for
Mm.
ODSP. So I label them ODSP, I label them the year, and then every document I send them in that particular year is on that flash drive.
Oh, it's a
Because
good idea.
you can't you can't trust anybody and it's just a pain in the ass. So if they want to act like, oh, I'm better than you, oh, I'm superior than you, then I'll do that twice as I can do it twice as better than them. Because if I keep my
Yeah.
documentation, I keep my documents organized, I keep my business organized, there's nothing they can say to me. If they really want to act like, oh, we're going to investigate me for something, okay, great. Here's every piece of document receipt that I have.
Yeah. How,
We're getting close to a quarter to, Brent. I know you wanted to wrap up a bit early, so did you want to do closing?
Sure.
Oh, see, now you're frozen.
Yeah, I'm frozen.
You're frozen a bit.
So I'm going to my wedge.
You're fine
frozen,
now.
am I?
You were frozen a little bit. We can launch into the. Do you want to build a snowman? No, but
Build the snowman.
I think you're fine now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm not sure what happened there, but sure. Yeah, I can launch into the closing comments. And well, first of all, I want people to understand that policies are designed to oppress the disabled people across Canada. I think a lot of the recipients, we all know that, right? So I'm not telling anyone who doesn't already know this stuff. Number one, you need to stand your ground and stand up for what you believe in. And if you believe that your circumstances are not treated fairly equally, talk to your local MLA, your MP, your MPP. If you're not getting anywhere, just keep on going higher and higher, right? Start at your city hall. I mean, if it's something to do with your municipal level, something to do with your housing situation. I know I've talked about this many times on the show, but hearing what Minnie's whole, not even just story, her lived experience, what she's going through about ODSP and having to make sacrifices regarding medications and having to put it onto credit cards, this and that. Her situation, I'm sure so many people across the country are having to make a lot of sacrifices and very difficult decisions, put themselves into a bad situation financially. Why? Because governments allowed it to be that way. They want it to be that way. They want to oppress the system down. Autonomy, like in the word autonomy, I know I talked about that before we launched the show, Neil. And autonomy allows people to have that proper movement of where they need to move to. They need to live somewhere. They need to just go and live there. They don't need the government to say, well, you're going to live here because we don't want to raise your rates. So
and God forbid you want to marry somebody, like,
oh, God forbid, yeah.
Let's punish people that want to marry one another.
Yeah, that's
because that's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just totally messed up. So, especially a long waiting list. I mean, even if there wasn't a long waiting list, does a person want to live in that kind of housing? Do they want to live where they want to live? They should be able to live where they want. RGI for sure, right? I know some people will say, oh, no. I think that's the way it's going, RGI housing. But you can live in market housing. You can live in a mobile park. You can live anywhere. You can live in a townhouse, condominium, and you still pay RGI. Why do you have to be under a BC housing or Ontario housing umbrella? You could, I mean, if you like that, I mean, great. I mean, but you could be in still RGI, but you could be in your own kind of sector housing.
What market value rent could you afford at $500 shelter?
Well, that's what I mean. It's 30% of your income, but
Yeah.
at the same
It doesn't even
time,
cover renting a room anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
no, I know the average rent, and there was a recent article that was out, and he was they're saying Vancouver, and then not just Vancouver, but Vancouver proper, Vancouver Metro. Okay, and so that's a huge, broad area. And I've never been to Toronto, but that's my next one of my bucket lists that I'd love to go and check out the different areas around there, Mississauga, yeah, a whole bunch of areas. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying about housing is Toronto is number 2 out of the list. Vancouver's most expensive in all of Canada. I believe in all North America almost. I mean, the housing. And then you got Toronto, then you got other areas that are pretty close to underneath there. $3,000 for a 1 bedroom in Vancouver. Almost $4,000 for a 2 bedroom in Vancouver. I mean, disabled. I mean, was it 375 for 16 years? They finally raised it by 125 only if. Now here's the big on that one, Minnie. Only if your rent actually increased. So if your landlord say decided, you know what, your rent's been at X amount of dollars, I'm not going to give you an increase, then you don't get that 125. Or if you're in subsidized housing, you don't get that $125 increase. But majority of PWD live in market housing. They pay market rent, so they did get that 125. But there was still a good sector who didn't get it, and it's about pegging disabled people against disabled people again. Like it's saying, well, you can have it, but you can't. I think the system needs to be adjusted that way. And so I guess what I want to say here to conclude that is. Yeah, if you want to come on to my show, anyone, and you talk about lived experience, just like Minnie and many more, please come forward. Like, please reach out to myself. Please reach out to Neil. If you're following Neil or myself, you can direct message either one of us. If you send me a direct message, most likely I will forward it on to Neil. So, I mean, you can let me know.
I'm Brent's secretary.
Yeah, and Neil's my just so everybody knows, Neil's my editor producer, so he will be reaching out to you regardless, and arranging when you'd be coming on, a profile picture, etc., whatever needs to be done for the show. If you feel more comfortable reaching out to me first and saying hi, yeah, like introduce yourself, I will then give Neil some of that information or maybe all of it, and then he will reach out. Or you can go on to Neil's website, daddybentlegs.com, and there's a tab that's on there.
There's a media tab on my
a media tab. Yeah,
if you
and
go to the media tab, it's right there. It's like, do you want to be the next guest? And even if you didn't want to be the next guest, even if it's only that you wanted to have, like, if you had a show idea, like, I want you to talk about this, I want you to talk about food banks, you could type that in, send it off, and that automatically goes to my email, and I read that, and we'll consider that as a show idea. Whatever anybody puts in there.
Yeah, and then Neil reaches back out to me and says, so and so sent me a message. What do you think? And I said, well, let me know, like, what is it regarding? What do they want to talk about? And yeah, I'd say 99% of the time, everyone, or maybe 99.5% of the time, I approve it. I say, yeah, I said, sure, like, this is great. And I usually, I give my overview of it on the show as I'm doing now. Like, I want to thank everybody who's listening today and listening to my podcast later on, and understanding that it's okay to stand up for what you believe in. It's okay to not just hide behind and don't feel that, like, what you want to say. What it should be. What I'm saying is, it's okay to express your feelings of anger, frustration, but to say it, to do it in a civil way where you're not bashing, name bashing, you're not bashing politicians. You're just basically saying like it's the policies that they are doing that hurts people's lives. And and that's what when I say lived experience, it's okay to come onto the show and then like talk. Let's talk, right? And that's what it's all about is and then holding the politicians accountable, saying you're elected officials, you need to be doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that's listening to your citizens. And if you're not, then it's time to leave. So thank you, Minnie. I'm going to pass it over to you. I probably rambled on a little bit too long there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so with ODSP and escaping poverty, it's possible. You do have to work. You need an income. It's not, I mean, legal aid told me there was a client they had that won the lottery. That could happen, but it's not, it's like me working is more guaranteed of me being able to leave ODSP than go play lottery tickets all the time because it's my behavior changing my mindset. Like I know my income is coming in from my efforts. I know my investments are growing because I put the money in there. If you don't put the money in there to grow in investments or grow to pay off debt or grow to like to become self-employed or become employable, you're not going to see the fruits of your labor. Like annoyingly, I ended up reading the Bible during this because it was very difficult and I couldn't talk to anybody. But the more I got into faith, the more I practiced Dave Ramsey baby steps, the more I read the policy and educated myself, the more I talked to my caseworkers in a way that you are here to work for me. I am not and I'm not like my mind is fully intact. And then whatever left of my body ability is available, I'm going to use it until I can't anymore. And I'm hoping if my MS gets worse or another disability shows up, that there's enough money to take care of it because ODSP is not taking care of you. There's no rescue party. Prince Charming is not coming. So you have to be able to do it yourself in a way that you understand that you're not going into debt and you're not financially sabotaging yourself from other people who don't believe this. Like this vision, this path has brought on to me because I asked for clarity. I asked for a direction of moving in a way that I can live and enjoy my life. Like I work so hard to take care of my mental illness because my doctor said you can live well with bipolar. Okay, great. What does that mean? And it does. It involves working, it involves having a mission, it involves having a purpose, it involves getting out of bed and taking a shower so that you can meet other people that can put you in a different direction. If you
Network, yeah.
constantly stay exactly where you are, nothing changes, nothing changes.
Same status quo. And yeah, exactly. And with that being said, nothing changes. If you just want the same old, then that's how it's gonna go. Yeah. Minnie, I want to thank you. I want to thank you very much for coming on today and talking about your lived experience of being self-employed and how successful it's becoming for you, and taking a stand against policy. I mean, and that's the good takeaway part too of this all is it's all about policy. That's so it's so I don't know what's the word I'm looking here for, Neil and Minnie.
I call it the maze of the Minotaur. So
Yeah, I think some people would call them pink unicorn policies. Yeah, I can think of a lot of things too. Yeah, I love that though, Minnie. I love that name you mentioned. And with these policies, like, yeah, you're right. These workers are here because they're elected. They're actually supposed to be here to represent us. And when the representatives come on, and I have them on the show, and they say, well, what do you want to see? What do you want me to do? How can I change? How can I change the system? Like, what are you wanting me to learn from you? The takeaway. Well, I want you to listen. I mean, that's what it's about, right? It's about these policymakers who they do these consultations, Minnie. It just drives me crazy. Like these consultations, what? they've done many years of studies. They already know
They
what
pay
people.
$30 for consultations. I already
Yeah,
talked to the Liberal Party for
yeah, yeah.
$30.
I know,
We
right?
need more politicians with lived experience, right? I mean, there's not enough. I
Oh,
mean,
no.
there's people like a Rick Hansen or whatever, but he doesn't really throw his hat in the ring, and
They
that's
need to
that's
pay
fine.
our knowledge and experience is worth more than $30
Yeah, oh,
Yeah,
exactly.
or a
Yeah,
gift
I know.
card. And
yeah.
the only reason they give you a gift card, when they
Maybe a
buy
Tim
the
Hortons
gift
gift
card,
card.
it's a business expense for them
Hmm.
because they bought the gift card from Tim Hortons or Sobeys or whoever. So
Hortons.
they're supporting Sobeys, they're supporting Tim Hortons. Then they give out the gift cards. Then you're forced to buy from that
Tim
company. You
Hortons.
don't have a choice of using that money in something you need.
Yeah.
If I need the money to pay my credit card bill, they're not paying the credit card bill. They're giving me a gift card to Tim Hortons. What the hell am I supposed to do with Tim
They
Hortons?
should give us
Yeah,
a $500 gift card for the credit card for Visa.
Exactly. Pay
yeah.
down my if and then if they paid my
Show me the
credit
money.
card bill, it's the same record. They see pay this person's credit card bill.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll give you a receipt. I'll give you a statement of paying my credit card bill. But no, I don't want no consultation fee for Tim Hortons to
yeah,
maybe get some sugary food that will make my condition worse. Like,
exactly. Yeah, I know. And things that make total sense is that they do things backwards. At the end of the day, it's supposed to be accomplished in a legitimate way, but no, they found a whole roundabout way of doing it.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh. Minnie, I'd love to have you come back on another segment again soon.
yeah, I'm happy to do it. Like,
That'd be awesome.
yeah, I'm happy because
Great.
my slide presentation is mostly finished.
Yeah,
So like so that way people that need the visual of all the information that I
yeah,
organized,
yeah,
because
yeah, and that way you can follow up with Neil, and when you have that done, and we can get you back on. And yeah,
If you want me to include a link, Minnie, to any like a slide or to your YouTube channel, just DM anything you want me to include
yeah,
in the video, and I'll include it at the bottom of the video when I post this out.
okay, great, I'll do
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We're right on. Well, thank you so much, Minnie, and I look forward to having you back on really soon.
Yeah. Thanks,
Great.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today, and please subscribe to Neil's YouTube channel and stay up to date on the upcoming shows, my Breaking with Brent, Coffee Time with Brent, and the traveling segment with Brent. Take care, everyone.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.